Errol Spence Jr. tells Terrence Crawford to stop using his name if he don't need him. We're going to talk about all that and more. Stay tuned to this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We work in Cash App. It is $Boxing Ego. Shout out to the supporters. And it is Fight Week. Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, PBC on Fox pay-per-view. Now, there's an interview that Errol Spence did after the press conference, which you guys will see at the end of this video. Not the actual interview because that's from ES News, but I'll put the link to that in the description. And he was asked by Ellie that, hey, did you see the live that Terrence Crawford put up the day before this press conference, conveniently on Spence Garcia Fight Week? And he said, yeah, I seen it. And he said, what did you make of that? Like, what were your thoughts on what he was saying? And Errol Spence kept it very short and said, basically, what do you want me to say? He said, if you don't need me, he said he don't need me, so don't mention my name. And that's kind of been his attitude towards the whole situation. He said, if you don't need me, and he kept repeating that, then why you keep mentioning me? You know? Now, this stems from Terrence Crawford's very own words, where Crawford says, you know, something, I'm just going to paraphrase. Basically, he would not accept 60-40 as the split. He says he believes unless he gets 60%, the lion's share of money, then I guess the fight won't happen. He also did another, this is just a multiple interviews that Crawford has done. And he did an interview with Miss Boxing Baby. And he says that fans say he needs Errol Spence, but he doesn't need Errol Spence. He says the fans want Errol Spence, but he doesn't, in fact, actually need to fight Errol Spence. In that same interview, Crawford said that he's kind of over, for lack of better words, kind of over the Errol Spence fight. He said at one point he was real big up on the fight, but the way the last couple of years have played out, he said he's not tripping. He doesn't care if they don't ever fight. He said it won't be his fault, right? But then after that, this week, Spence Garcia Fight Week, he did a live stream and totally contradicted everything he had just said and said, I want to fight Pacquiao and I want to fight Errol Spence. Those are the two fights that I want. And I've put the video up on the page, and it's just looking real confusing for Team Crawford, the information they're putting out. So I understand why Errol Spence said what he said. Terrence Crawford, in one interview, he's saying, I don't care if the fight happens, I don't know what kind of game Crawford is playing, mind games or, whatever, but it's contradictory things being said. One interview, he says, who cares? I don't need Errol Spence. He ain't done nothing in his little career compared to me. So if anybody gets the lion's share of money, it should be me. And then a week later or so, he's doing the Instagram live saying his bucket list or his hit list is Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence, and those are the two fights he wants, and he wants to fight to prove and show his worth. He also took shots at Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, and Errol Spence and Kell Brooks' resume, saying that they each had only fought one relevant, notable name, which that didn't make sense to me, because if you're going to say Errol Spence only had one good fight on his resume, and that's Kell Brook, what about a unification that he just had in his very last fight with Sean Porter? What about the fact that it's Spence Garcia Fight Week and he's fighting Danny Garcia? But for whatever reason, it sounded like Crawford was trying to undermine these other PBC welterweights and who they fought and who they beat in their career resumes to somehow big his up. And I, in my opinion, that's a bad look. So I understand Errol Spence's angle. He also shut down ESPN, who kept asking about Terrence Crawford. He said, there won't be no Crawford fight if I don't get past Danny, so I'm 100% focused on Danny. So, we'll see how this all plays out. But to be honest, I understand Errol's message has been consistent. That's the biggest thing. His message has been very consistent. Crawford's hasn't. 1 minute Crawford is saying that he doesn't even care about the Errol Spence fight and he doesn't need it. And then the next week he's doing an Instagram live with his fans and he's saying that he wants to fight. In that Instagram live, he's saying Danny Garcia and Errol Spence really only fought one relevant fight. And he even questions, is Danny Garcia, do you guys tell me why Danny Garcia is a top welterweight? But then in the same interview or the same Instagram live, Crawford says that Errol Spence versus Danny is a great fight and he's looking forward to it, and it's a 50-50 fight. So why are you looking for, if Errol Spence only fought one credible name, Kell Brook, and Danny Garcia, you're pretty much insinuating he's not a top welterweight, then why would you be looking forward to this particular fight and saying it's 50-50? And he also gave a lot of props and said, Danny Garcia, I've known him since we were kids in the amateurs, and he's always been competitive and knows how to win. So it's not going to be a easy fight or a walk in the park for Errol Spence. So why denigrate their resumes if you really feel this way about them? So many questions. This was also a great fight, but according to Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence has only fought one good fight, and we're days out from him fighting, in my opinion, another great welterweight fight, especially coming off his car accident. He didn't have to take a fight so difficult. So I'm truthfully not understanding a lot of what Crawford is saying at this moment. And, to each his own. Maybe it's not for me to understand, but I dig why Errol Spence is saying, stop mentioning me. Like, what he keeps saying that in interviews. You said you don't need me. You're the A side and you don't need me. Why you keep calling my name out? Why is my name constantly in your mouth? These are questions that I guess Crawford would have to answer, because for me, I'm not really understanding it. For whatever reason, Crawford believes that he's not in no man's land, and it sounds like he calls the shots in his, that's what he believes. But Errol got 2 belts, more than anyone at the welterweight division. He's about to join the ranks of Manny Pacquiao by fighting two-peat 2 times at AT&T Stadium with a live gate. He's fighting the man next to him, Danny Garcia, a very credible top 5, top 6 welterweight, just because the welterweight division is packed, and depending on where you rank Sean Porter and Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia very well could be in the top 5, at worst top 6. These are all top guys. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Terrence Crawford. He seems pretty stubborn, and he seems dead set in his ways. But at the end of the day, he's getting passed up by legacy fights, and he's the one having to contradict himself. Oh, I don't need Errol. And then the next minute he keeps doing interviews about Errol. Like, I can understand Errol Spence on First Take. He was being asked about Crawford. Crawford uses Errol Spence, Danny Garcia fight week and randomly goes live on his personal Instagram live. So that was there was no media obligation there at all for you to even start discussing. It's a free country, so Crawford can, he can go on Instagram on his own social media handles. But the point that I'm making is the fact that Errol Spence is only mentioning Crawford when he's in his fight week and or being asked by reporters or media about him, versus what Crawford did is he waited till Spence Garcia fight week and randomly went on his own personal Instagram live. He just won and beat Kell Brook 4th round stoppage, and he had to get those things off his chest. So that wasn't a media obligation where Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith are asking you about Errol Spence. You randomly decided to do that. Versus Errol Spence, he was on the show, the ESPN show. So, they were bringing up questions about an ESPN fighter, Terrence Crawford. and he quickly shut those down. So I don't know that Errol Spence even wants to talk about this stuff because he's focused on Danny. But as a professional fighter, you have these media obligations, and you can't prevent, the questions that are being asked by boxing media. But I don't really remember him talking at the press conference about Terrence Crawford. It's only when he's on like ESPN or he interviews with like a YouTuber, things like that, people ask Errol Spence about Terrence Crawford, versus what Terrence Crawford did. He just randomly went on his Instagram live and started talking about Errol Spence and Danny and the welterweight and, Canelo and David Benavidez, other PBC fighters, Caleb Plant and Shakur Stevenson, stuff like that. So it is what it is. Those are my thoughts, but I do understand Errol Spence, because it's looking contradictory from Crawford's perspective. He said, I don't need him. I don't care if we ever fight. We might not never fight because Errol Spence demand is 60-40. So Errol Spence, very simple. Why you keep mentioning my name if you don't need me? Kind of a bad position for Crawford. Just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. 10X Videos, Ego, signing off.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you, and we welcome you to Dallas, Texas for the final press conference for our big night of action coming your way this Saturday night, December the 5th, as we anticipate the big showdown for the unified WBC and IBF welterweight championships of the world. The belts being displayed right here in front of me. Our two distinguished fighters backstage ready to come out along with their trainers as Premier Boxing Champions proudly presents two of the best fighters in the world ready to collide for one of the most significant and competitive matchups of the year as the undefeated reigning champion, The Truth, Errol Spence Jr., ready to defend his crowns against the challenger, two-division world champion Danny Swift Garcia. Bringing to your attention, this event comes to you live from the spectacular AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, featuring a live audience in attendance with social distancing and extreme health measures in place. And tickets are available on SeatGeek.com. Our promoters for this event, TGB Promotions, Man Down Promotions, and DSG Promotions. Our pay-per-view event commences at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. And we also want to bring to your attention, we have three exciting matchups leading up to our main event of the evening. Our valued sponsors: Proper Number 12 Irish Whiskey, the finest, the tastiest, the smoothest liquid gold in the world, and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Order your parts online at O'ReillyAuto.com and get free curbside pickup. Well, before we bring out our fighters at this time, we'd like to take a closer look at them. First, a closer look at the challenger looking to regain his welterweight crown and shock the world, Danny Swift Garcia. Trained by his renowned coach, Derek James from Dallas, Texas, a U.S. Olympian undefeated at 26-0 with 21 knockouts, making his sixth world.
Town.
For me, it's just a lifelong dream. It's something that I've been wanting for a long time, and to be fighting again in my hometown means the world to me, especially as a comeback fight. And just having my core fans and people that supported me since day one be there at the fight, man, it means everything, and I won't let this moment go to waste.
For Danny, you are coming here to the Dallas area. You're from Philadelphia. It's well documented in football, the rivalry between the Cowboys and the Eagles. Do you relish the opportunity to potentially win these world titles in quote-unquote enemy territory?
First of all, before I answer your question, I want to thank God for putting me on this stage and having a healthy camp and making it here to Texas, blessed with a great team and a great family. You know, I want to thank Al Heyman. I want to thank Fox. I want to thank the media and everyone who helped make this big event. You know, as far as coming to Texas, Texas has always been great to me. You know, as a prospect, I fought here a lot of times, not here in Dallas, but in Houston. And in 2012, I won my first world title in Texas, Houston, Texas. So, you know, I have a lot of fans here in Texas, and, you know, I feel like it's a home away from home. It's a special place for me, you know, because I won my first world title here, and I don't look at it like I'm going away. I just look at it like I'm going to handle business.
ERROL, October 10th, 2019 is a day that you will always remember. It's when you suffered that horrific car accident, and lo and behold, over 14 months later, you're back inside the ring defending your world championships against Danny Garcia on pay-per-view. Can you tell us about the journey that you have experienced over these past 14 months?
Man, really just a lot of hard work and a lot of discipline, you know, having my family and, you know, my parents and my coach and my day one friends and people just supported me, and just seeing my kids every day. You know, I wanted to get back and, you know, I would just train hard and stay in the gym and stay focused and, you know, don't let outside distractions get to me. And that's basically, you know, what I did. You know, it was a lot of times, you know, I wanted to give up, I wanted to quit, but, you know, just seeing, you know, my loved ones and, you know, not want to let my kids down, because when they get older, how I'm going to tell them to keep going when they want to quit at something if I had quit, you know. So when I went to the clinic and went to the doctors and they told me, you know, basically I didn't have any brain swelling or any blood in my brain, anything like that, you know, I decided to continue my career and to get back. And that's basically what we did. Me and my coach been in the gym since probably February, and just been grinding hard, and, you know, we to this point, and now we back. I'm 100%, I'm ready. He's seen my reaction time. He's seen my sparring and, you know, how I do on the mitts and on the bag, and everything's back on point and back to, you know, to where it was. So I feel great, and everybody gonna see, you know, the same Errol Spence Jr. post-car accident.
Would you say that the car accident and everything you went through renewed your love for the sport of boxing? Not that you didn't take it seriously before, but did it really open up your eyes as to what matters in your life and renew that love for the sport of boxing?
I wouldn't say renew any love, because, you know, I never fell out of love with boxing, but I think it did renew my focus and got me back focused on the things that got me to, you know, the top of the mountain. And that's just being in the gym every day and things like that, because at some point I was, you know, after a fight, you know, it started taking a week off to 2 weeks off to a month off to, you know, basically being in the gym when it was fight time. So, you know, now we've been in the gym, like I said, since February, just grinding hard, you know, staying focused and staying on the grind. And that's what got me to the point that to be unified champion and to get to the mountaintop, just being in the gym every day and just grinding. So, you know, I think it really did help me, and especially, you know, just, you know, you realize that, you know, having this time on earth, it's a luxury, you know, and you already realize that being this young, you know, you think you're invincible and you think, you know, nothing can happen to you. But when something do happen to you, you know, you just realize, you know, the time is important, especially spending it with your family and your loved ones and people that really care about you and that you really care about. So for that standpoint, that's why, you know, I actually moved out of downtown, got a ranch, and, you know, got horses and, you know, different cattle and things like that, and, you know, got a pool, and I'm, you know, outside with my kids, enjoying the time with my kids and my family. Just had a newborn son and a girlfriend, and, you know, just, you know, enjoying life more and the people that care about me more than just, you know, all the outside influences that and what you'll call distractions.
Danny, you've been calling out Errol Spence for over 2 years now. Now that we are just 3 days away until you have that opportunity to go ahead and become the first blemish on Errol Spence's dossier, what's going through your mind?
Hey, hold on. We got to start with the cat, because nobody called me out for 2 years. Ain't nobody in boxing been calling me out for 2 years. He did call me out, that was a year ago, but nobody been calling me out for 2 years.
Yeah, I never been a fighter to chase fighters anyway because I feel like I'm the fighter, but I definitely did call him out a year ago, or a little less than a year ago. And the fight was supposed to happen in January. It didn't happen. But, you know, like I said, boxing is a sport of timing, and the time is now. I feel great. Had a tremendous camp. You know, I did everything I was supposed to do. Now it's just time to go out there on Saturday night and do what I do best and win.
ERROL, you could have easily, in your comeback fight, taken a tune-up. Instead, you wanted Danny Garcia. Why so?
Well, we already had the prior agreement that I was going to fight Danny Garcia. You know, nobody forced me to fight Danny Garcia. I could have took a tune-up, but, you know, I wanted somebody dangerous who's going to, you know, keep me focused and, you know, keep me in the gym and training hard. And I had to make sure I was going to be 100% on point. If I'd have took a tune-up fight or, you know, somebody that I was supposed to beat, you know, I feel like, you know, that 100%, you know, fire wouldn't have all the way been there. Of course, I would want the victory and I wanted to win, but, you know, fighting somebody with a great name like Danny Garcia and a great fighter like Danny Garcia, you know, it just pushed me to another level and pushed me to the level that I'm supposed to be at.
Danny, you're the underdog coming into this fight. Does that anger you? Does that upset you? Or is it something that you pay no mind to?
I don't pay no mind to that. You know, I've been the underdog in many fights. I just prepare myself. I worry about Danny Garcia, training hard. I don't worry about the critics, the media, what they say about me. I know that I'm a great champion. I'm a great fighter, and that's why I'm here today. And that's what I'm going to prove Saturday night, that I'm a great champion.
Well, speaking of champion, you haven't been a welterweight champion for a few years. How much do you crave once again putting gold around your waist? You have that opportunity on Saturday night.
Oh, it's a very great opportunity. You know, there's no feeling in the world like winning. And winning a world title is the best feeling in the world. You know, you can't take that for granted. I took it for granted a few times, and, you know, it got the best of me. But you know what? In this world, you learn off your mistakes. You become a better person. You become a better man. And that's why I'm here today.
And ERROL, when it comes to your training, your trainer, Derek James, has told me on numerous occasions that you are hitting harder than what you ever have over the course of your professional career. Why is that so?
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know about hitting harder, but I do feel like, you know, I'm sharper than, you know, I ever was. And, you know, I'm making weight easier than I ever did before. And I just feel like, you know, the focus is there. And the focus is there, like, you know, when I started my professional career, to get to this level. So, you know, I just feel like I got a renewed focus and, you know, everything's clicking. And basically, I'm eating, sleeping, and pooping, boxing.
ERROL, this is your third straight fight on PBC Fox Sports pay-per-view. What does it mean for you to be headlining a card of this magnitude?
It means everything. Like I said at the beginning of my career, I used to say all the time on social media, you know, tables turn. You know, a lot of these guys didn't want to let me in. Well, you know, I'm finally in, and, you know, fighting it on Fox pay-per-view, I feel like that's just the upper echelon. That's where the top fighters are fighting. And for me to get this opportunity over and over, I mean, it's great for me. It's great for my career, and I love it. So I just got to continue to do what I've been doing, and that's winning.
Danny, you fought on big cards before, but this is the first time that you are headlining on pay-per-view. Does it feel any different? Is there any extra added specialness to this opportunity?
Yeah, we definitely know what's at stake. You know, we work hard every day in the gym. We push ourselves to the limit. We know this is the biggest stage, but I've been here before many times. You know, I've been headlining fights for 8 years straight, you know, at the championship level. So, you know, the only thing that's different is just the pay-per-view. People just got to buy it. But I've always been a top-level fighter, always been fighting at this stage, and I'm just, you know, taking it like another fight.
We'll go to your father, your trainer, Angel Garcia. Angel, yesterday you told me on PBC Instagram Live, when I asked you about a prediction, you proclaimed to me a 7th round stoppage for my son, Danny Garcia. Why do you feel that will be the case on Saturday night?
Well, because we had a great camp. We left it in the gym. Everything is done. The job is done, man. We're here. What am I supposed to say? You know what I'm saying? I got to cheer for Danny Garcia. I mean, he's going to go out there and show the world. True champions made of. And we've been on pay-per-view before. On the Floyd undercard. It wasn't our card, but it was our own press conference, our own everything. With Matisse. So it's not the first time pay-per-view. You know, to the people it is. To us, it wasn't. Danny been here before. He done it. He done it before. He going to do it again. You know what I'm saying? Danny just don't know how to win. He know how to kick your ass.
So, Angel, does it anger you? Do you feel like Danny doesn't get the respect that he deserves as you see that Danny is the underdog heading into this pay-per-view showdown?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what the people think. At the end of the day, half of the people that write that shit, they never been punched in the tip of the nose. It's just people behind desks, man, making all these calls. Get in the ring. Well, then, why don't they try it? Get in the ring with Danny. I don't want to do it. Just once in a while, he slips and punches me. I feel it in my fat toe. You know what I'm saying? It's easy with the mouth. I could take your money with my mouth. Would I take it, though? It's a different page. Life is like, hey, listen, man, life is crazy like this. That's why we're living through this epidemic right now. Because you know what? People fear the most in America is death. And that's guaranteed.
Now we'll go to Derek James.
The Birdman's here, brother. The Birdman.
The Birdman is in the house, so
right,
says Angel Garcia. Now we'll go to Derek James, the esteemed trainer of ERROL Spence Jr. Derek, when you hear Angel Garcia say he's predicting a 7th round stoppage, obviously he believes in his son and he's behind him 120%. They believe they're going to win. But the specific prediction about a 7th round stoppage, what is your response to that?
Well, I want to say, first of all, is that the respect that they say he doesn't get, I give it to him because I've seen what he's done throughout his career. Secondly, I mean, I don't know about the knockout and all that. I don't make predictions for myself or my guy. And he's supposed to believe in himself. He's supposed to believe in what he thinks his son is going to do. Why wouldn't he? And at the same time, we feel the exact same way. I don't go in there and say we're gonna get a knockout because I can't predict any of that, but I can predict that at the end we will be victors. We will win the fight or whatever. But I think that, you know, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to believe in himself. You can't make it to this level and perform on this level consistently and not believe in yourself. So I think that without a doubt that, you know, it's what it is. We don't have to talk though. I mean, my guy's quiet, I'm quiet. We just, you know, you believe in yourself, you don't have to talk about it. So that's how I feel about it.
Well, ERROL has proclaimed that he's in, and I saw him, he looks in impeccable shape. We were down in training camp with both guys. But how has this camp been different? Because I almost feel, and I see in ERROL, a different look, a more focus in his eyes. The demeanor is more calculated. Do you feel the same way out of the 2012 Olympian and the current unified welterweight champion of the world?
Well, you know, I feel that way exactly. I think at the same time, it's like the level of respect that he talk about that he doesn't get from other people. We give him that respect, and that respect makes us come in harder. That respect makes us train harder. That respect makes him focus even more. But at the same time, he is this guy. He's focused on his task. He's focused on constantly proving that he is the best welterweight in the world. So that's really where the focus comes from. So you see, basically, what I would say, like the eye of the tiger, is because you see him on his grind, constantly working out, nonstop, and you see the fire in his eyes. And that's what it really is. So it's not so much about all the other things. It's about his focus. It's about his respect for himself, respect for Danny Garcia in the game, and how, you know, respect makes you beat people. Respect keeps you honest. And that's what you see is honesty.
We'll go back to Danny Garcia. Danny, your father told me that he anticipates there'll be moments in the fight where it will be a toe-to-toe battle. How have you gotten yourself prepared mentally and physically for those kind of exchanges on Saturday night against ERROL Spence Jr.?
You know, working in the gym, working on all kinds of stuff, working on boxing, working on banging it out, working on moving, walking them down. So, you know, we worked on everything. So at this level, you got to be able to do everything. You just can't go in there thinking you're going to slug it out, and it'll be a whole different story. So we definitely prepared for a lot of things. That's why we had different sparring partners. We had guys who come at us. We had young guys who move, all types of styles. So we'd be prepared for Saturday night.
ERROL, for you, what are you hoping to prove on Saturday night against Danny Garcia on Fox Sports PBC pay-per-view?
I mean, the only thing I'm gonna prove that, you know, I'm still the same. And I'm a realist. I'm realistic. I know people, you know, have a lot of questions. Am I still the same? Am I shelling myself? And if I would have looked at the accident and somebody would have had, I would have said the same thing too. And I would have had questions too. So, you know, that's basically, you know, the questions that need to be answered. And I feel like that wouldn't have been answered if I would have fought, you know, a lighter competition. So I feel like, you know, a lot of stuff will be answered come December 5th that people that haven't been in the gym need to see. So, you know, I just expect for myself to be 100% on point, sharp, and, you know, just accurate with my shots.
Danny, what do you want to tell ERROL Spence as we are just 3 days away until your welterweight showdown? And also, in a perfect world, how does this fight end?
You know, there's not really much to say. You know, all the hard work is done. You know, you can say what you want to say. I know I'm here in Texas and I'm ready, you know, for the fight of my life. I'm ready for whatever. And come Saturday night, I will be victorious.
ERROL, in a perfect world, how does the fight end on Saturday night?
Well, the fight ends by me winning, and life taught me that this world is not perfect, so so ain't nothing gonna be perfect, but I'm definitely gonna get the win and the victory.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We greatly appreciate it. Good luck on Saturday night.
Thank you.
Now, Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia will have the ceremonial stare down. And Joe, my goodness, what an press conference here in Dallas. Both men seem focused, determined, and they are locked in.
Yeah, they both look great.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.